Well, we are back in the kitchen now. Earlier in the show, we talked about weight management, but now we're talking about the connection between food and digestive health. And I am joined now by Virginia Mason Franciscan Health Physician Assistant, Diana McFarland. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you about so many things. You've already given me a few tips off camera, but first, let's talk about GI health and wellness. What is that?
Well, I separate this into two sections in my mind. I think about GI health as supporting wellness, anything that improves vitality, longevity, the lining of the gut's integrity. And then I think about GI disease and disorder and how that can manifest itself in our lives and how we can use supportive diet and nutrition options to improve those symptoms.
And it really does affect, my therapist says our GI health affects our mental health.
It absolutely does.
It's so crazy how connected it is. So let's talk about women. When we talk about women's health and GI health, what comes to mind for you?
Well, I think about the things that support health and wellness. The first thing I think about is diet.
All right.
So I tell my patients that you want to eat the rainbow. And that's what I brought in today.
Eat the rainbow, okay.
Yes, is all of the different colors represented on this table here focus on incorporating healthy fibers, complex carbohydrates, balancing that with proteins full of healthy fats, and then also our vegetables that are full of nutrients. And if you eat the rainbow, you're going to be getting that variety of not only nutrients, but a variety of probiotics that live on the foods we eat. And then these foods feed the healthy gut bacteria that promote our health as well.
Because the way that these fruits are genetically, the reason that they're different colors is for different nutrients, right?
Absolutely.
So that's an easy way for us to just not have to think about it knowing we're eating every different color.
Absolutely. And when we think about the carbohydrates we eat, we want to eat carbohydrates that are complex, that are high in fiber and low in processed sugars and white flours.
Can you explain what that might be?
Yes. So if I'm going to pick a bread, for example, I'm going to pick a bread that's made with whole grains. And I'm going to pick a grain that is it's a whole food. It comes as its singular product. Like this is garbanzo beans and wild rice with a whole grain bread.
Okay, and these are garbanzo beans in their natural element
before
they're all nicely. And that's great. You can add those to soups and such, right?
Yeah. And the thing to think about with complex carbohydrates is that your body has to work to digest that food, and that work that goes into digesting the food actually improves your GI integrity.
And so it's basically working out your GI tract, essentially? All right, I get that, I get that. So besides diet, what other components help a healthy GI tract?
Yeah, so I advise my women patients to drink enough water, but they don't have to drink too much water. So enough water is usually in the range of 64 to 80 ounces per day.
All right.
And that's going to help balance out the form of your bowel movements and improve the integrity and lining of your gut. But too much water can actually sometimes cause gut upset. So it's important to have just enough.
Okay.
When we sleep, that's when we rest and digest. We absorb excess water from the GI tract. We process our bowel movements and nutrients, and it's important to have a regular amount of sleep every night.
I had no idea. So what are some signs and symptoms that women should look out for? Like, what if you're noticing symptoms that aren't going away?
You know, at baseline, if your bowel habit is one way for most of your life, and then it shifts, either you stop having regular bowel movements or you start experiencing diarrhea, we call these red flag symptoms. So times where you would notice a symptom that's completely abnormal would be blood in the stool, or unexplained iron deficiency, unexplained weight loss. If anything like that happens, we want you to seek care pretty emergently.
Okay. So, I mean, because any big changes, go to the doctor.
Absolutely.
I have a question. It's for a friend. I remember a girlfriend of mine, as she was getting older, she said she was not able to go to the bathroom. It was not happening. She was getting backed up. And we were like, gosh, Linda, we don't know what's wrong with you. And now as me, sorry, Linda, and my friend, Jen, we're now like, what is happening? Why is this happening to us?
Yes. Does
it happen as we age?
Absolutely, and especially for women, our pelvic floors change as we go through life, and that changes directly how we can have a natural bowel movement. And so women can experience what we call obstructive bowel movements, where it's hard to have a bowel movement, and they can experience problems with bowel leakage as well. And so my clinic is TMI all the time. So we are always talking about the details of what's going on and figuring it out and making you feel better.
I support this.
Yes.
You know, the theory on my show is sharing is caring. Sorry, Linda.
Absolutely.
Honestly. All right, so what are some, you mentioned some, but what are some of the other most common disorders that women face?
So if women can experience autoimmune inflammatory bowel disorder, they can experience GI cancers for sure, but the most common thing we see is irritable bowel syndrome. So something like 14 to 24% of all women in the United States has some form of irritable bowel syndrome. We call it IBS.
Yep.
And it's so important to recognize that we follow a very robust diagnostic algorithm to make that diagnosis. Do not use it as a blanket diagnosis or an umbrella term.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've diagnosed myself with that, but I'm pretty sure that I should probably come to you and have me figure that out.
Yes.
But that is helpful. How does the process start? How does somebody come and able to see you all?
Well, you could start with experiencing red flag symptoms, but a lot of times when it comes to IBS, my patients will tell me, I've had this since high school. This is the way it's always been for me.
Okay.
And I get these attacks where I have pain and yada, yada. So they come in and they talk to me and we say, okay, well, what are the symptoms that are bothering you? And we'll definitely run through a diagnostic process to make sure we're not dealing with one of those other types of disorders.
Right.
If we confirm that you have irritable bowel syndrome, the great news is that there are a ton of very holistic and natural interventions that can truly improve your quality of life.
And it's easy actually to eat from the low FODMAP diet, which is something we can get into in another time. We have more time.
Whole nother segment.
That's a whole nother segment we will have next time. But thank you so much for sharing all this information, for being here. And go check it out. If you want to get in touch with Virginia Mason Franciscan Health and learn more about this, visit the website on your screen right here. It is vmfh.org/digestive health.
Back to this special presentation of New Day Northwest, sponsored by Virginia Mason Franciscan Health.